Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Strange and creepy encounters. It was around 11 p.m. and I heard a car pull up outside and the engine shut off. I looked through the window and I noticed a car parked on the street across from my house. After like 20 minutes, I heard someone tapping on my door. Not a knock. It was much lighter and very quiet. I was not entirely sure whether I really heard something or it was just in my head, but after a few seconds, I heard the tapping on my window. I opened the blinds a little and saw a man standing there. I could not make out his face properly, and he immediately walked back to the door and started tapping at it again. Something in my head was saying if I opened the door to him, then something really bad would happen, so I went upstairs to open a window to ask what he wanted. It felt safer doing this. He said in a really quiet voice he was delivering pizza and told me how much it cost. I told him I did not order pizza. I guessed he was speaking quietly and knocking lightly so he did not disturb my neighbors. My dog had followed me upstairs and was letting out the odd growl and bark, which is not really unusual for him. I was trying to shush him when the man downstairs told me he had the correct address, and I better get downstairs now and open the door to pay what I owed and collect my food before it got cold. I was really confused because I most definitely did not order any food, and began telling him that again when I noticed he was not even carrying anything. I told him again that he had the wrong address and he got really angry. He kept telling me to open the door. He was going between angry and sort of trying to persuade me to go back downstairs. I asked him where the pizza was. He said he had hold of it. It was really dark, but he definitely didn't have anything in his hands. My dog was really making quite a bit of fuss at this point, and the stranger had turned into a broken record. Come downstairs, open the door. Come downstairs and open the door. All the noise must have alerted my neighbor who did open his front door. And the man didn't say a word but practically ran across the street to the car that I had heard pull up a while ago. He went back to the car empty-handed. I have no idea what he wanted, but he certainly wasn't a delivery driver. It really freaked me out as well that my dog is quite obviously a large breed, and the man saw him through the window. He wasn't deterred at all. It seems even stranger and less random that he actually drove to my house as though he'd planned on showing up.
Be me, 1993. Riding the bus home from school, leaving downtown Seattle mid-afternoon weekday. Exit bus tunnel at Convention Place via curving on-ramp to Interstate 5. Glance up at space under the overpass. The area is all concrete, fenced off, dirty mattress. Man is sitting on a mattress in wife beater and boxer shorts. He's mid-50, early 60 ES, balding, patchy beard, no more than a few days old, very dirty and unwashed. Also covered in blood. Has a shirt pulled up to expose the belly and chest. Is carving long lines across the chest and belly. Try to get my friend's attention and point out a bloody old man. By the time he looks, we've turned too far around a bend and can't see under the overpass anymore. Remain haunted by the image 30 years later.
Seems mundane, but I think about this a lot. I was standing on a bus about 3 years ago and a guy got on using crutches. No one stood up to offer him a seat, which I thought was weird, but he didn't seem to notice. He was in a cast up to his knee on his right leg. He moved right over to me and just struck up a conversation. Seemed totally normal and friendly. I asked him if he'd been in an accident. He said, "It was my own fault really, and the crutches aren't that bad." I say, "Oh, that's good, you seem pretty comfortable with them." He says, "Yeah, they just take a bit of getting used to. It's just about how you balance yourself." He started moving side to side a little, I guess, to show me he was stable. Then he continues giving me tips around them. Make sure you leave them beside your bed, and that no one moves them. Nothing worse than getting up to piss in the middle of the night and having to crawl or hop. And the cast gets itchy, so if you want to get something that can reach down there, you can get super thin back scratchers online. I'm smiling and nodding through all this, listening to him giving me tips. Make sure you keep snacks and drinks and stuff next to your bed or your chair. It's not worth getting up all the time, so you might get hungry or dehydrated. Stuff like this for like 10 minutes. I remember thinking he was talking to me as if I was in crutches too, but he probably just wanted to chat. Eventually he gets off and says his goodbyes, which seems normal enough, but you can guess where this is going. About a month later, I was in my backyard, carrying a crate of beer into the house, in the dark, and I slipped and fell down the stairs. Broke my right ankle, cast up to my knee. I didn't remember this conversation until my mom called me in the hospital to see how I was doing, and I said, well, it was my own fault, really. Suddenly, I remembered the whole thing. The way the guy was talking to me as if I needed his advice. And he had cast in the same place. Then I started thinking about how no one even acknowledged him when he got on or offered him a seat. Anyway, I followed his advice. Before I even got home, I bought a back scratcher online. Started piling up water and snacks where I would need them. The only thing I forgot was that my mom visited and stayed the night. Without thinking, she moved my crutches off my bedroom floor to the hallway while I was asleep, and I had to hop out to them in the middle of the night to piss. My friends think I'm nuts, and it was just a coincidence, but I've started to think of the guy as a phantom or something, maybe a warning from the future.
Be me in late summer 2020. Car camping on the shore of Utah Lake. Me, my buddy, and his girlfriend. I'm a third wheel. Have a blast driving on the dirt roads around the lake in my buddy's girlfriend's Jeep. Get wasted and hang out around a fire till around 1 or 2 a.m. Decide it's time to sleep. We all crowd into the back of the Jeep. I don't know if you guys have ever been car camping, but the windows get really foggy. Wake up to extremely loud, violent pounding on the windows of the car. At first thought it might have been rangers. Look around. Can't see shit because of the fog. Grab my handgun, open the door and say, "Who the fuck is there?" No response, so I get out of the car and look around. Don't see a soul. No footprints besides the ones I just made in the mud. My buddy woke up too and was freaked out. His girlfriend slept like a rock through the whole thing. Get back into the car and fall asleep. We wake up the next morning, light a fire, laze around, and make breakfast. Eventually we pack our shit and decide it's time to leave. Friend's girlfriend goes to start the car and it won't start. We pop the hood, and there are a ton of oil-soaked rags jammed in random parts of the engine and dry sticks thrown all over everything. We clean it all out and throw it away. The car starts perfectly fine. Now, could it have been a crazy meth head trying to fuck with us? I suppose so. But it's hard for me to believe even the weirdest meth addict could get out of there faster than I hopped out of the car and leave no footprints behind. The sabotage seemed kind of like someone or something that had seen a car, but had no idea how they work. Other friends have had their windows knocked on by things they never catch a glimpse of in that area too.
Alright, this is going to take forever to Greentext and probably be multiple parts, but it's genuinely one of the weirdest sets of experiences I've ever heard in my life, and me and the people that experienced both instances are still baffled. Be me in my late teen years. I think I must have been 17 at the time. Had moved away from my hometown in Southern California 2 years ago to a town about 30 minutes down the highway, but most of my friends were still in my hometown. I would often take drives on Friday nights to go hang out with them. We are hanging out at one friend's house. I will call her Sarah. It was me, my friends Kevin and Oliver, Sarah, and an older hot chick that I will call Stacy. Not their real names for obvious reasons. Sarah lives in a really rich neighborhood near the wine vineyards of the town. The house has 6 or 7 bedrooms, 3 stories, a pool in the backyard, the works. Pretty close to a reservation and a lot of open land and hiking trails and some smaller foothills that eventually lead up to some mountains that get snow in the winter. Sarah starts telling us a rumor she heard about this abandoned mansion near her house being haunted. Now, this mansion is huge. 3 stories, over 12 rooms, a huge garage, a swimming pool and jacuzzi, a basement, a huge driveway and giant barn on the property, etc. It was on what had to be at least 10 acres of land, if not more. It was also a few miles away from any real paved roads, and the only road that led to it was a fenced-off dirt road. You could get to the house by parking in a nearby suburb, following one of its running paths that is about half a mile long to a small trail, and then walking a mile and a half-ish to the property, hopping the fence and hiking up a bit of a hill. We go during the day. The place is cool. Tons of high school students and druggies hang out and throw parties there. There's an old Santa Claus statue with a knife duct taped to its hand in the living room, a bunch of broken TVs and old computer parts, and tons of graffiti on the walls. Of course, there's a few pentagrams and other edgy shit drawn on the floor in chicken blood or red paint too. We hung out for a bit, explored the house and property, went into the barn and decided to head home. We hung out till dark and decided to go back. It's about 9 p.m. It was summer, so the sun had just set. We make the hike to the house and get onto the property. The place feels weird. Cliché, I know, but I can't describe it any other way. Everyone is a little spooked. Nobody wants to go in the house. But there's a cute girl there, and I want to impress her. So I went into the house with nothing but an old Zippo with an anarchy symbol on it I like to carry around because I was an edgy spurg. Go into the house, explore the whole thing by myself. Surprisingly, not that creepy. Nothing weird happens. Get out of the house and decide to hang around on the property for a bit longer. We decide to head back to our cars and start making our way there. We hop the fence off the property and slow down a bit, since we're not technically trespassing anymore. We get onto the trail and Sarah insists on holding my hand. We hike about a half a mile and Sarah looks behind us, squeezes my hand and says, "Do you see that thing behind us?" Everyone turns around and we see a small, feminine-looking silhouette about a half mile behind us. It's a little strange, but we're in a nice neighborhood, so some white chick on a night hike wouldn't be that strange. We keep walking as if nothing is happening. The silhouette stays just far enough behind us to stay out of sight the whole time. Get another half mile back to our cars, only about a mile to go. Sarah turns around again and whispers, "What the fuck?" The silhouette is gliding, or like skipping, blinking, across the ground towards us. It gets within proper viewing range and we can see it completely black, like a dark shadow. Suddenly it stops. It then starts to shudder and shake and lets out the loudest, most high-pitched, ear-piercing scream I've ever heard. We freak out and book it back to the car. We floor it back to Sarah's house. We smoke a little bit and drink some booze to help us calm down. Nobody wants to talk about it the rest of the night. At around 1 a.m., I feel sober enough to head home. The whole time I'm driving home, I feel as if something is following me. I honestly have no idea what it was, but I can only describe it as a banshee or a poltergeist. Whatever the case, it was weird in there. Now this event is, in my belief, connected to another event where me, my cousin, and an unrelated friend witnessed a shadow person that I'll greentext here soon. Now for the shadow person story, be me, a year later. Had turned 18 and graduated from high school a few months earlier. A cousin came out from Utah to visit me and our mutual friend, who I will call Aaron. We went for a hike in my hometown on a trail pretty close to the abandoned mansion from last time. Maybe a mile or two away at most the whole time. After the hike, we decided to go see a movie. I think it was Shrek 3, something like that. We start heading back to my place. We decided to stop at Taco Bell. I just realized I have to make at least 2 drawings to explain this better. This is going to take longer than I thought. Stop on a street corner by my old high school near Aaron's house. There is a field and a horse pasture on one side of the road, and the other side has a housing development with these big 10-foot-tall brick walls. Aside from that, the development was mostly empty. Some pallets of bricks and pipes. We are chillin', munching on tacos when out of nowhere my cousin hits my shoulder and says, "Bro, do you see that thing?" and points at the corner of the brick wall. There is a strange darkness peeking around the corner and 2 smaller blobs of darkness, one on top of the wall and one gripping the corner. It looks like a head and 2 hands, but completely devoid of light or color. For some reason, we do not feel scared or threatened at all, just as if something is observing us. Pic-related, it's a basic map. Aaron can't see it, but he feels the feeling. We keep eating tacos and hanging around until Aaron says, "Oh shit, I see it." We look back. This time the head and both the hands are peeking over the top of the wall. We decided that's pretty strange, and since all 3 of us now see it, some of us twice, we decide to dip. Drop Aaron off at his house, My cousin is staying with me, so we drive home. Of course, the whole time that feeling of being watched never leaves. Get home, go inside. I have 2 dogs, both of which love my cousin and have seen him a million times. One of the dogs always sleeps in my room with me. That dog freaks out as soon as we get home, keeps growling at us, and refuses to come near us. We hang out in my room for a little bit and then start trying to fall asleep. We hear footsteps in the backyard and what sounds like very faint whispers. Still have that feeling of being watched, or almost played with, toyed with. Now, I lived on an acre of land, so the backyard was fairly big, but we looked out the window and couldn't see shit. It's weird, but we can't see anything, so we do our best to fall asleep. Wake up on and off, the whispers and footsteps have yet to stop. Finally, when the sun comes up, they stop. We leave my room to get breakfast, and both dogs love me and my cousin again, and are completely normal. We decided to go check out the housing development with Aaron. Hop the gate and check it out. There is nothing that we could have mistaken for what we saw, and no way we could have confused anything there with the being. Nothing near the wall that someone could have stood on to peek above it. Like I said, this thing didn't feel malicious, just otherworldly and strange. It didn't seem to want to harm us. It was more like it was just watching us. Pick Related is a very bad sketch of how this thing was looking at us.
I think the one that really stuck in my head was when I encountered the Hatman. I didn't even know what it was until a few years later when I read about how others have had the exact same encounter. Learning about this just makes it a lot scarier to think back to my family used to live on an old farm when I was in my teens. Cool place, but quite creepy. Large house with this gravel courtyard and an L-shaped barn around it. We rented the house and the barn has not been used in years. The barn was massive and it had windows overlooking the yard. I remember I had my bike in one of the rooms. Every night I came home, I dreaded going in there to put my bike back. Kept having the feeling that someone was watching me from the barn. The whole fucking place was so scary, and I sometimes see it in my dreams to this day. If that was not bad enough, someone had actually died in there. He fell into the silo and got chopped up by those rotating knives. But on to the main subject. One night I was upstairs getting ready for bed. I remember that I had forgotten my phone by the computer downstairs. Go down to get my phone, which was scary by itself. I go down and go towards the room where the computer was. The light was on in that room. As I turn the corner into the room, I bump into this tall black figure. I could not make out any details, but it was like a big man wearing a robe or a trench coat. I thought it was a burglar or something at first. I was frozen in fear, and it felt like I was about to faint or panic. I closed my eyes and looked down in disbelief, and he vanished. It happened really fast. I grabbed my phone and ran upstairs.
Not going to Greentext, sorry. Happened in the late 90s. One evening my dad and I went to our local Blockbuster so I could rent some N64 Vidya. To get there, we had to drive down the mountain, which we lived on, to the part of town with the Blockbuster. Anyway, get my games and we start going back. The mountain always scared me a lot as a kid. It was dark, with lots of hiking paths and trees, pretty spooky. As we're winding up the mountain road, my dad is drilling me on math problems while I stare outside the window impatiently to get back and play. Suddenly, by the side of the road, I see what I think looks like a man, only much bigger. It was only a second or two, but I could swear I had seen what looked like a giant man dressed all in dirty towel rags crouching by a dark inlet just off the side of the road. It freaked me out, but I didn't say anything because I wasn't entirely sure what I actually saw. And since my dad didn't see anything, I figured it was just me being a wuss. We get back home and I forget all about it, play GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie until about 10 when I get a really bad feeling. The house is quiet except for my television and the sound of my parents watching their movie from their bedroom. I hear what sounded like scuttling running footsteps along the outside wall of the room I'm in. Okay, that's weird. It went towards my parents' room and I heard my mother scream. I stand up and every hair on my body is standing. She screams again and Dad yells, "Don't move." I hide under my blanket and suddenly hear the same running steps again, but now back the opposite way to the road in front of our house. And that's when I saw the same shape from the road, but running and practically gliding off the ground. I dropped to the ground as the living room where I was had large windows and I could have easily been seen. I'm practically crying at this point, breathless and have no idea what's happening. Then I saw the black mass disappear. It vanished and I had no idea what just happened. My dad comes out of his room and he has a large knife. He sees me and says, "Go to your room." I ran to my room and passed my mom and saw her crying and smoking a cigarette, which she hardly ever did. I asked her what happened and she started sobbing. "I can't. Go to bed. It's okay, it's fine. Good night, Anon, don't be frightened." I went to my room and closed the door, hid under the covers and lay awake for a while before I passed out. May not be supernatural, not very creepy on paper, I guess, but it was one of the scariest nights I've ever experienced. It felt like a terrible nightmare and I still have dreams about that night. Felt like pure evil.
Be me, like 14 years old, walking around town with 2 friends. We're all girls. It's like midnight or 1 a.m. No parental supervision, so we do whatever since it's a small town. Get some drinks and continue on to a small field. Smells like rotting flesh. Something isn't right, so we book it out of there. Walking in one of the neighborhoods, like 20 minutes later, a random man appears out of nowhere, like 40 feet away, and asks if we have any cigarettes. We say no. We were dare kids at the time. Continues to ask us and move closer to us. Another guy appears from a different angle, also moving toward us, asking about cigarettes. We book it out of there, run to some random house with a door open and try to break in so that we can GTFO before these guys get too close. They ended up walking down an alley near the house we were at, and no one answered the door for us to get inside that house, since it was probably 2 a.m. But I still wonder what they were planning. We knew something was wrong that night after we smelled that flesh smell and thought we should have gone home. Not paranormal, just something I still think about to this day.
This is a story my friend tells. I was only there for the first and last parts. We were camping not too far out of town and decided to go for a walk in the dark, just along the river, with the forest at our side. We walk long enough that we realize the trees have slimmed down, and we can see the lights up the hill from the road. It's not that late yet, but it's dark, and we're getting hungry. But my friend remembers driving by on the way here, and he's pretty sure there's a bar or diner or something just along the road. He volunteers to go and get some food and bring it back. We agree to chill and wait for him by the river. After maybe 5 minutes, we hear this horrible screeching and crashing sound and take off running towards the road. His story: he left us and walked up the little hill towards the road, climbed over the little divider and starts walking. He's walking against traffic so he can see if something's coming, but the road's empty. Less than a minute later, he turns a corner and sees a guy just standing by the road. He can see the lights from the diner nearby. He's right next to the guy now. He's pretty short and gaunt, sandy brown hair, wearing a brown jacket and jeans, smoking a cigarette. As my friend starts to walk past him, he just says, "Hold on." Friend turns back to him, not sure he heard him right. He looks around, but there are no cars on the road that he can see. No lights apart from the diner up ahead. He says he didn't feel threatened by the guy, despite what he said. So he just smiles and tries to leave again. The dude steps forward and slaps his hand against Friend's chest and grabs his shirt. Friend turns to face the dude and gets ready to throw a punch. Suddenly, a car comes screeching around the corner, spins a few times and crashes through the divider, wraps around a tree. It broke through maybe 15 feet from where he was standing, and he knows immediately that the driver is dead. The whole driver's seat is crushed. He looks at the guy, who's still grabbing his shirt, and he just gives this little "told ya" look, but doesn't say a word. Then the dude just turns around, climbs over the divider, and back down into the trees. When we find my friend, he's just standing there, looking at the car. Another friend ran to the diner to call an ambulance. No reception. But later, they reported that the driver was killed on impact. Friend didn't tell us about any of his side until we were back home. We all put it up to some PTSD shit at almost being killed, but he swears the guy was there, that he could smell his cigarette and feel his fingernails scratching him as he grabbed his shirt. He can't figure out why he couldn't see or hear the car before it came around the corner. But even if he was just a normal dude that could somehow hear the car when my friend couldn't, if the car had just drove on by him, he'd have been fine. He was on the other side of the road. He would only have been in danger if the car had crashed and he'd kept walking. He asked us a lot if we saw any sign of the guy, but we didn't. This could make sense though, because of where we got to the road. He's never had any hallucinations or creepy encounters apart from this, as far as I know.
Be me, 6 or 7 years old. My bedroom is upstairs. My parents are downstairs, down a hallway, around a corner. Don't remember leaving my room. Don't know how I got downstairs. Don't remember waking up Mom. Don't remember Mom picking me up and holding me. Do remember being filled with incredible dread and terror of something unknown, shivering in abject terror, having apparently suffered an awful nightmare. Realize that my awareness is primarily above and behind the recliner, so I see my mom holding me as I'm shivering. I'm a little dude, but my awareness is like 6, 7 feet off the ground, a viewpoint I wouldn't have had until I grew up. I can also see out of my eyes, but this perceptive center is somehow secondary, can perceive both simultaneously. State doesn't last long at all. Out-of-body perceptive center fades. Eventually calm down enough to be put back to bed, but don't really remember this part. Mom got my kitty Bible and found a bunch of verses referring to being afraid, wrote out the references to them in the front of it. Never happened again. Never slept-walked again. I'm pretty convinced it was a sort of out-of-body experience. I think that might have been the last nightmare I've had too. Most of my dreams are at least semi-lucid, and they're never frightening, as I know at a base level that I'm dreaming and none of it is fully real. For example, one of my dreams had me driving my car down a tree-lined lane when Pennywise the clown, literally, yes, the one from the Stephen King book, stepped in front of my car to get me to stop so he could attack me. I found a metal rod and tried to telepathically pull him into the rod, to impale him, but he managed to resist me, so I beat him to death with the rod instead. I woke myself up muttering out loud that I had found him.
That's pretty crazy, man. When I had surgery as a kid and was under, I saw a little boy floating near the ceiling of the room. We talked, and I looked down at the doctors performing surgery on me, so I get what you're saying about the perspective thing. There was also something like a nightmare I had in my late 20s where I was running out of air, drowning under this deep black lake. But I had this knowledge that if I didn't surface, I wouldn't wake up. When I surfaced almost out of breath from the dream lake, my consciousness re-entered my body, and I woke up.
Posted this years ago here, but I'll tell it again. Was at my house in a kind of rural area, chillin' on my computer. A light shines through my window. I pull myself together and realize it is not going away, and I'm kinda terrified. I get the courage to look out the window. No one is fucking there. It is just a flashlight on the ground. I grab a bat or something, I can't remember, and head outside after much debate. It is my fucking flashlight. I pick it up and go inside, still scared shitless. I go back to my computer and go to shut the curtains because I feel like I am being watched and am paranoid now. The light is still there. The room is still lit up from outside. I look out the window. Nothing is there. I shut the curtains. The light is still shining. I search the room to figure out where the hell it is coming from. After several minutes, the light turns off. Still have no idea what this was, and still scares me thinking about today.
I was plagued by visions while working at a large company that had factory equipment in various other buildings. Some were simple, like the implication that an itch on my leg was related to some creature being in it. One that haunts me to this day involved a group of kids going on an adventure on a rowboat, starting off from a pristine modern-day park with everything normal. The whole vision had this low droning effect accompanied by a simple tune hummed by the kids. As it went on, they sailed into some endless jungle, and that's where the terror comes in. The plant life began to progressively become more dried and decayed, though the jungle was still full of plants. As they progressed, the kids themselves began to decay. They just stood on the boat, seemingly unaware of what happened as they in real time withered into husks. Charred, blackened skin, no eyes, empty mouths, no hair, intestines falling out and blowing away as dust. The song kept playing. Occasionally the view would shift elsewhere. The region of decay was spreading, and some pro-wrestler types were body-slamming husks to try and stop them from entering the safe area. They stayed in the region too long and began decaying as well. Just like the kids, they devolved into mindlessness immediately, standing there and letting it happen. People in hazmat suits went into the region to study and found the suits to be wholly ineffective at blocking the effects. The song still played. Just recalling this is giving me a migraine and a panic reaction.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.